Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That looks good.
Do that again.
Twirl it for the girl. Twirl it the twirl.
I had a Kahlua and cream.
Twirl the twirl.
Don't.
What's cooking, Sean?
Just like a little avocado toast for you, toasted crostini with an avocado and a lemon vinaigrette.
Looks good.
So I hope you guys enjoy. Who's coming to dine with us this evening?
Well, the amazingly beautiful singer, activist, and representing the transgender community, Shea Diamond.
Shea Diamond.
Yes,
Wow.
she is so amazing.
And you know what? I heard, speaking of transgender, that 90% of police officers think that transgender people are sex workers.
Well, you figure that in their line of work, they might come in contact with the population.
90%?
That way. Well, 90% of them may. I don't know. But
90% may come into contact with
Yeah.
sex workers by choice.
yeah.
But the question is, how do they really know?
Ooh,
Where there's a desire, huh?
that's a tough.
Enjoy, guys.
That's a large percentage.
Right.
90%? Wow.
Well,
This looks delicious.
I mean,
looks
you know.
delicious.
You know, for me, it's not so much the police officers. I think there is a public perception that trans people are automatically sex workers. But to me, the bigger problem is, why are so many trans women sex workers? That's the
That's a good way
bigger
of reframing
problem.
the question.
First of all, you know, if a transgender person goes into a job interview, you know, often, very often, in fact, probably most often, you know that they will not stand a chance.
Wow.
True.
You're right.
Discrimination.
I mean,
And
you're
you can
saying
act like it doesn't happen, but it does.
Yeah,
and,
no,
and,
it does.
And I like to think of the transgender people who are sex workers. They're not sex workers, they're survivors.
Oh, you better preach. I've had to do some surviving along my line in the sex world.
Okay.
You feel me? I mean, they are so discriminated, so marginalized in our society. And why is it the sex industry is one of the industries you make the most money in a day? In a society, why?
Well, my perspective coming from the beauty industry is their image has improved greatly.
Sex workers, yeah.
You know, because
Talking about
until-
sex workers, right?
Sex workers or transgender?
Transgender.
Both.
Right.
Okay, both.
Right.
I mean,
I would
you know,
say, I would agree with that. You know, sex
so
work
that
now has the term sex work.
So some of the discrimination, I think, has lessened because of how more polished they are.
Well, you know, there's always levels. So sex work has been around since life, I'm
Yes.
sure, right?
It'll be around when
when
we
you
dead,
start
though.
doing it in the upper hotels and things like that, then it has a different term, right? But the idea is the same, right? It's sex for money.
And you know what? Women are objectified, and so many are attempting to feed their families and the kids and our transgender community trying to survive. That's what you said, because they can't get hired.
I don't know. I guess I just feel like the whole tone of the sex worker conversation is like sort of wrapped in a lot of judgment. Like, are we like agreeing that this is a bad thing? I guess maybe I'm not tracking.
I don't think that it's.
I am very
it's-
respectful
a job
of sex
is a
work.
job.
I plead the fifth.
So I believe that, like, because I know you guys, of course, so I believe that that's what you think. But then when we're talking about it, like, juxtaposing it to being discriminated against and these other things, we're saying, oh, like, this is a last resort. Like, you have no other choice. It's because you're discriminated against, you're doing something that otherwise maybe you wouldn't do. So I think we have to kind of carve those two things out. Neither are wrong, because you're right, the discrimination and such is there, but I think when we talk about it in that context, it sort of suggests that we're actually looking at it as something that they shouldn't be doing.
The majority of society, I'm not going to say the mass, a large portion of society, you are really, less than if you resort to that.
Well, I guess to your point, Antonio, the reality is in most states in this country, sex work is actually still illegal.
That's a good, yeah.
In terms of the balance of right or wrong, it's the idea that you're actually engaging in illegal activity if you're
Good point.
working as a sex worker.
I disagree that it's a good point, because just because it's illegal, I mean, look at what is illegal. Two people having a private interaction and having a private exchange of resources. Why is that anyone else's business? That's my question.
Well, I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be illegal, but the fact of the matter, it is, and you could be arrested, and so those become the sort of outcomes of engaging in something that's illegal.
And why is this? Do you all know what a chastity belt is?
Yeah,
What is it?
I'm wearing one now.
Preach. What is a chastity belt?
It's a garment that makes your genitalia unavailable to anyone other than the holder of the key.
And why was it invented?
So no one can have access to it but the holder of the key.
It was invented for men who were going off to war. Could you imagine wearing something so uncomfortable?
You took me someplace with
Right.
that because now, so something that was what you just described was the reason it was created is now a fetish object
Yes, it
that
is.
people choose
True.
to wear,
Yeah.
which had the same intent in stopping you from being available to someone else. And then some people who enjoy wearing one do it because they're saying, I am only available to you.
Well, they're not as heavy as they used to be. Thank goodness for that. They're not as heavy as they He tried to put one on me, okay, but I threw it away. I was like, no, it's not gonna work.
So, Aaron, what do you think is the state of affairs for the transgender community now? Sort of given the fact that this came out, and I don't know exactly for what reason, we've got to study, the level of sex work that is happening in the transgender community. I presume on some level it's related to the violence that's happening with them, and that there may be some correlation to the violence. But I find that they've had a lot of advancements in terms of their physical aesthetic because the technological advances of the beauty industry in terms of the type of surgeries, the electrolysis and different treatments for transgender women to be a bit more feminine.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Because I also hear cis women saying that the beauty industry has turned straight cis women into drag queens.
Yes.
So they've closed the visual gap. You hip to this?
I absolutely
Wait,
agree
can we
because of
clarify?
the implants.
Can we clarify the difference between drag queen and a trans woman? Because they're not the same thing at all. If you
And
don't,
a cis woman, those terms, please clarify.
yeah, cisgender woman is a woman born cisgender female, and a drag queen is a performer, an entertainer who gets on a stage, usually lip syncs to a song, plays with gender in different ways. You'll have drag kings, drag queens, but drag is performance.
Okay.
Trans is about identity, who you are, who your soul is, and how your soul corresponds or does not correspond to the body that you were born with.
And so I'm talking about the image of all three of them, which is become closely related because of the beauty industry.
Yes.
So he
Well,
was.
drag is drag is you cover your eyebrows, you draw huge.
I know what drag is.
So
Aaron.
it's a lot of
And
people
it's a
confuse.
lot of women who are in drag.
But a trans woman that is
So a straight
presenting.
woman that has on lashes out to here, heavy makeup, much pattern after drag queens. I'm talking about the makeup, not that they're drag queens, but the aesthetic has. Turn on the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
So very true.
They look like drag queens, basically.
I agree. I totally agree.
So
I
that
just don't
was-
think we should lump trans women into that category because a trans woman can look like anything.
This is not an
And-
attempt to bash
I
trans
know.
women at all.
I'm not taking it as that.
So why would they not be lumped? And I said
because
I said
they
cis
often
women-
are, and
actually,
they're-
I said cis straight women and drag queens is actually what I said
And
in
that-
terms of the closing of the
The
visual
aesthetic.
image. So I didn't
Of the
lump in
beauty industry.
transgender.
So, okay, and I would agree with that. I think that the population at large has heavily been influenced by the show, RuPaul's Drag Race, and drag queens. Absolutely. I think that a trans woman is just as affected and may be influenced by that or may not be influenced by that.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're trans, you're
That
influenced by
wasn't my
drag
you
point.
queens.
told
That
me
wasn't my
Nicki
point, and I never
Minaj
even said that. So I
was
don't even know
a
why
drag
you're harping
queen,
on
I
it.
would
You would
believe
believe
it. If you told me Nicki Minaj was transgender, I would believe it. If you told me Nicki Minaj was a woman, I would believe it. She is the perfect example of how a cis woman can look like a drag queen and look like transgender.
Yeah.
Her hair, her boobs, her butt,
Yes.
everything is an addition.
I feel like you all are like kind of missing, at least this is how I feel.
Okay. Please.
What do you miss?
I
What
feel
am
like
missing?
you're missing the aspect that trans is internal.
soul.
It's internal. You guys are talking about body and
We're talking
It's-
about, I was talking about what my industry, the beauty industry, that ain't in here. That's out here. So all what you're talking about is in here, which is why that trans situation is more important to you because that's how you differentiate that from a drag queen. But there are a lot of people who don't make that differentiation because they look at the outward aesthetic. And what Antonia was saying was that outwardly, the aesthetic can be that there was a gap closing that has actually helped transgender women in terms of their acceptability in a mainstream
Exactly.
America and the universe, because now there are more cis women who are actually looking like them.
Okay.
Exactly. That was my point.
I think there's just a lot of transphobia, and it's just unnecessary.
My boyfriend had a sex change, my first boyfriend, and I was very, very young. And when he came to me, I was like, I still love you. And I
You had a
did.
sex change.
Yeah, I went through the whole process. And of course, it was different, technology
then
and the
it
whole
was
bit. And
transsexual.
suffered, driven into a cave, drug addict, actually. I started getting high with it and suicide, Yeah, so now it's more, so I'm so grateful for the support that's around this whole subject. The fact that we can talk about it.
Okay, so when we think about power, I think one of the things that I love and especially love with Aaron is that strength that you always show and remind us that the struggle with the transgender community is finding that strength and that power to actually persevere through all of the struggles, being one of the most oppressed.
I want to hear really from Shea. She can speak to that. She has spoken to that publicly, and she has a great story, very inspirational. She's so powerful.
Okay, well, you know what? Let me check and see if she's here, because
Ooh,
I
I
cannot
hope so.
wait.
I hope so.
Let me see. Has my guest arrived? Wait! Got it! That's right. Wait a minute. Okay, come on, right over here.
I feel like clapping for Jack.
You better. Okay.
What y'all eating?
Oh, and here it comes.
Here it is, right here.
Ooh, honey, that's what I came here for.
Oh,
a little vegan little situation.
See that we heard about it.
So what you have is a rosemary and apple roasted chicken with a sun-dried tomato couscous. And for the vegan, you got eggplant.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Enjoy, guys. If you need
you so
anything, I'm in the
much.
kitchen.
Thank you, John.
I saw a video online on YouTube where you talk about kind of an overview how you were unwanted by everybody.
Yeah.
Ooh, baby.
And it just looks so different. Just being dark-skinned, being a dark-skinned
Chocolate.
individual. Chocolate.
Oh, come on now.
All this.
Come on, ain't no
All
dark and light.
this.
It's chocolate, baby. I'm gonna lick you.
And so you know. You better talk about it.
That chocolate.
You better talk about
She
it.
meant it too.
True.
Pardon me, baby. I'm gonna be on my better behavior. Let me eat. Talk to it.
That's Cheryl, Auntie Cheryl.
Yeah, Auntie Cheryl. Nice to meet you, Auntie Cheryl. Thank y'all for having me at the table, honey.
Girl, we're good to have
Because literally,
you.
if you're not at the table, honey, you own the menu.
There you
Thank
go.
you for inviting a black trans woman to the table.
Absolutely.
Honor.
Absolutely.
Honor.
So you said you were kicked out
Yeah.
early on.
So I had to live my life in pretenses. So you already know how it is in black homes. We don't play that. We don't play that. So we're not even accepting you being a gay person.
Hello.
So now come out and say that, listen, Ma, I got another layer to add to that. I'm a trans woman. And so so it was very difficult because, you find out that you have to fight everybody. You have to fight the systems. You have to fight at home. You have to fight at school, and so as you get older, the fight doesn't stop. And so I was formerly incarcerated in a men's institution for 10 years.
You did a dime, huh?
Oh, honey.
4 years, 5 months, girl.
10 years.
10 you did. I did almost 5. Go on.
Ooh, you did a meatball, what they call it. A meatball.
I feel you.
And
Wow.
yeah, 10 years.
Forgive the tears.
Oh yeah, it was where I found my voice,
Right.
and where I realized that not gonna get better. You know, that literally the same thing I experienced in the home, what I experienced is on the streets, is the same thing I'm gonna experience in prison. But now I'm not gonna be able to have the voice to say anything about it. So you get discriminated, harassed, sexually assaulted, all those things, and you can't say nothing about it because who's gonna believe you?
Exactly.
You know, so there's no credibility. You know, you lose all that. You lose your rights. So, you know, so
But you
learn.
found your voice.
I did. And I found my voice because I thought I was locked up, but I didn't realize I've been locked up my whole life. And so now I'm just behind bars now. And so my locked up looks different. But that's where I found out that I was free because I had that pen, honey. I could write. And so I went from writing grievances to writing songs.
In prison, did you start writing songs in prison?
I started writing songs in prison.
What a
Now, were you
beautiful
able
story.
to, how did you have to present in prison, if I may ask?
Well, you know, I got in trouble quite a bit for being myself because I came in as myself. So you're not going to punish me for my crime and punish me from looking this good. That's double jeopardy, boo.
You said that's double jeopardy.
You know? And
I love it.
a sister can only take so much.
Come on now.
You don't know how much I understand.
You know, it's real. And so when you realize that your femininity is not enough, and your masculinity is not enough. So you say, where do I fit in between this male structure and this female structure? They said, you don't belong here. Not on this side. Take her. No, she don't belong over here. Take her.
Right.
So I had to create my own lane and said, this is who I am. I'm a goddess. So you
Yes,
can keep the
goddess.
male.
Yes,
you can
goddess.
keep the male and everything that comes with it. Because nobody can ever be male enough. Your male's going to always be challenged. You're never female enough. You're too strong. You may be borderline. Oh, you trying to act like a man. So women can't be strong. And so, as you know it, trans people
goodness.
can't exist in this world. So we've already been told from the beginning, you could be anything in the world you want to be, just don't be no girl. And so there were these rules that came with how we're supposed to exist. So when you were a baby, they said, okay, you know what? Oh, we having a little tater tot. But then when you realize that tater tot is not able to fulfill that role that you thought they was going to fulfill. There's not going to be any babies coming out of here. You know, that's not happening. So, you know, I'm sure my mama, you know, wanted grandbabies, you know, from me, but that's not going to happen. You know, so there are a couple roles and a couple things that we have to do in society in order to be deemed acceptable. And so I found out that I would always be an outcast because I'll never fit in. I'll never want to dress like you. I'll never want to act like you. I'll never want to be you. I want to be myself and I want to be happy in that.
Where you from, babe?
Born in Arkansas, raised in Memphis. Yeah, so
Southern Belle.
Yeah, oh yeah, Southern Belle all the way. And so, you know, it's just, we know how it is in black homes.
Yes, we do.
We know how it is.
How is it? Tell it.
Okay, so
Extension
we
cord. I
would
talked about
prefer
the extension cord.
We would prefer you to be anything in the world to be a mass murderer. We prefer you to be a pedophile in the family. Just don't tell
Keep it
nobody.
quiet.
But don't come up in here switching and twitching.
The first time I heard the word whooping,
Oh, my
somebody
God.
said to me, where did it come from? Why we say, you gonna get a whooping? Why?
You know where it came from? It came from our oppressors.
Exactly.
And so we got our ass beat.
Yep.
Slave master whoop our ass.
Yep.
And so it was left up to the parents to get your kids in order. You would have to beat your kids. And in order for me not to whoop your kids and hang your kids up on that
preach now.
tree, you better go and take it to the back and get that big switch, not the small one. Get that big one.
And draw blood.
And draw blood.
That was the only way.
But all these systems are meant for us to fail.
How would you describe the experience of being transgender for someone who doesn't understand what that feels like?
Great question.
Well, for me, I find that people didn't disagree when the doctor smacked them on the bottom and says, "Oh, it's a girl." But that's the reason why I cried.
Like, no.
Come on with it, baby. Come with it. What you say? That's why I cried.
Not a boy. Lie.
You got it wrong. No.
And so
Love you.
And so, so society tries to correct you and correct those who are your parental figures as well. Because my mother, I think for a while, when people pointed out to her, oh, why is your child switching and twitching around here? Is your child gay? And so as a parent, you get defensive because it's a black community.
Yes.
And so I found that my mother had to fist fight people in my neighborhood just the same way I did. Because again, there were people within our community that wouldn't stand for it. They looked at being gay, at being trans as a weakness. And so everybody said, okay, that's the weakness within our community, and we have to correct that. And so when they found out that they couldn't correct that because I would put monkey paws on their ass, and so my mama would put monkey paws on your ass, they said, that family right there, there's something about them. And so, whereas we lived in the hood, and you seen people get dumped in the trash can all the time. You seen their cars come through and get egged on. You used to see so much. Their houses got egged in when you first moved into the neighborhood. But they didn't do our apartment like that because I had already fallen in school my first day. And so they was like, okay, no, no, leave it alone. And so what I did find is that as long as people understood that you would fight, and so for me, my existence mattered more than their idea of my existence. Were they willing to fight for it? And were they willing to die for it like I was? And so this is the only existence I have. I can't correct myself and live in misery like you. Because you were given a role, and they told you what role to play, and you accepted that. It's not my fault that I didn't accept that. And, so I'm challenging it just by existing, walking out of the house when they say, okay, we're going to stop you from getting jobs, but then I'm still surviving.
Yes.
So my survival, I realized, was a crime. So in order for me to live like everybody else and be unbothered and, and live my best life as well, I had to break the rules. And so they said, you wouldn't be successful, you won't go to college, you won't do this, you won't do that. And so my life became just surviving and not thriving. So I didn't realize I could actually thrive until I was locked up. And I said, you know what? I have nothing else to lose. Because once you realize you have nobody else except for yourself, and you realize that yourself is all you need, then you tend to come out with a different power. And so where I was looking for support before, and I realized on the inside I wasn't gonna get that support. So I said, when I come out this time, when I come out this time, a sister has nothing to lose. And so when I came out, I hit the ground running. Soon as I got out, I don't think nobody moved faster. I don't think nobody was engaged in more stuff. As soon, I knew I had a plan because I told people in the inside, I said, I ain't coming back. I seen a revolving door. I seen people come back, and for me, in that 10 years, I seen people who came in with 2 years come back, get 3 years. Now you in here for almost 5 of mine. Is you tearing up?
Yeah.
I'm tearing up too because
Oh my God! I didn't know y'all was crying. I'm thinking we just. I'm just going in. Okay, girl.
you got out of prison, hitting the ground running, and you are performing at the GLAAD Awards.
I am.
Can you elaborate how do you get out of prison with nothing, starting from ground zero, and end up where you are today?
Well, the thing is that I knew that I had this dream. I had this dream since I was a little tater tot. But it was beat out of me. I was afraid to sing because it was too feminine. I was afraid to sing at church because I would move my hand the wrong way. They'll catch me because I move my eyes the wrong way, or my singing too high. And so for me, I always had that dream. So I would look at everybody else's existence on TV, Diana Ross, Tina Turner, and I would dream big. And so I would move myself from that living room into that TV screen. And so you couldn't tell me I wasn't on stage with Tina. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't singing alongside Diana Ross. And even when I got locked up, you couldn't tell me that my dreams weren't real until I woke up to that cold prison cell.
I hear you.
You said something a moment ago about wanting to move from surviving to thriving. And what was that switch right there?
Well, so that switch was actually getting the opportunity to do it. Soon as I got out, like I said, I hit the ground running. And so what that meant, I did my 2 years of probation or parole, and from there, I said, I can't stay here. This is where I call my crime at. I gotta go. And so I had a plan in the inside. It would be one of these big states, California, New York, you know, where people had a different way of thinking, where they were subjected to more personalities, more sexualities, and not just the country where I came from, where this is all we know and this is all we'll do, or from the small states, this is all we know, this is all we do. And so I knew I had to get away from that small place to get away from those small minds.
There you go.
I had a family member staying with me. I had been telling them the whole time, listen, I'm about to go. You know, I've been talking about this for years, but people don't understand your passion. Don't really know. They think you're talking. And so what I did was sold my car. Instead of taking that with me, which I probably should have, I gave that to them because I know they didn't have any plan outside of that. So right away, I moved out to New York, and I went to the shelter, had my things with me, my bags, and they told me, child, you got too many bags with you. You got to lose some of them bags. And so my bags, I had my whole life up in there. You know, like, this is how I'll survive. And so I had the songs I had written in the inside, my certificate of copyright from the Library of Congress for all the songs and stuff. I had wrote this book, so I had all this. I had a plan. Every time you go somewhere, you have to take all your things with you when you leave the shelter. And so for me, I couldn't take it that one day because I had to take care of some business, I think to find an apartment or something. So I couldn't take all my stuff with me that day. So I had someone that I had been speaking to for a while to hold my songs, to hold my certificate of copyright, and I said, I'd be right back. They threw her out of the shelter because you're not supposed to give nobody nothing, and they said they threw my stuff away. And that was my breaking point. I said, it's over. Everything I had sacrificed, everything I had done, it's over just that fast. And so, so literally, I thought that my dreams was over. So I left that shelter right away. I said, I can't do it here. So what happened is I accidentally got married, accidentally got divorced. So, you know, my dream was kind of like deferred for like just a little bit.
Okay, you know what? You got a whole lot of accidents. Okay, before you go into all your accidental divorces and marriages, we're going to just pause, let you take a bite, because we have not let you have one nibble of this amazing food from Sean. So, and we will be back. Go ahead and take a breath. You know what? Girl, you're talking about all these accidental marriages and what? Please explain.
Well, you know, getting married wasn't a part of the plan.
Okay.
You know, it may be later after I had already reached, you know, a level of success, you know, then I considered, you know, marriage. But I kind of did things backwards, you know, and so I met this guy, a Build-A-Bear, and so I tried to build the perfect guy. And when he got everything that he needed, he didn't just leave, which I would have welcomed. Go ahead, go. No, soar your wings. You know, if ever I'm not good enough, then soar your wings. But when he stayed there to try to break me down before he left, told me that he preferred Spanish women. I'm a black woman, I'm dark as hell.
Chocolate.
M&M greatness. A Twix on a good day. Mars bar. So he tried to break me down before he left and told me that he preferred Spanish women, told me I was only a pretty face, and told me that I didn't do enough. And so I fell into a spiral of depression. And so I'm very sensitive and all that great stuff. So I fell into a spiral of depression, and I didn't want to do anything. So I had one friend that came over to my house, and so she would always try to encourage me to go out to community things. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to deal with community. They toxic as hell. And, you know, I just got through with this divorce, and he tried to break me. Community would just finish me off. You know, and so she said, child, you never been out there. How can you say what something is unless you actually go out there to it? And I said, okay. And the first time I went out, after the group was over with, she said, and she sings. And that's when it all started. So I sang I Am Her, which I had written in prison. And from there, I just started getting gigs after gigs. But it was like mainly for the movement. So all the trans protests and everything within the women's rights movement, they would say, hey, can you come and sing that I Am Her song? And so I found that my music actually had a place and it had a purpose. And so, so what happened was one of those performances, Justin Trenter, stumbled upon one of those performances and actually emailed me and was like, hey, I would love to get you out to LA to record that song.
Whoa.
And so, I'm thinking like,
Sure.
and so I was just thinking just about my situation I was in currently. So I knew my situation, I couldn't afford to go out to LA. I couldn't afford the flight. I couldn't afford the food. I couldn't afford none of that budget. I had to figure out how to get back on track from this broken situation I was in. He was like, no, I'm going to pay for all that. And so I really raised my eyebrows up and said, like, went on the internet, see who this person is. So, a good Google. And did my little search and found out, he was with the semi-precious weapons. He was, doing all this stuff. But I still didn't believe that it was something like that could happen to me and for me, because they told me my whole life it wouldn't happen. And so I still, in my heart of hearts, didn't believe it. And so what he did was, before he flew me out, was he invited me to the Cyndi Lauper Home for the Holidays at the Beacon Theater. And so here I was, VIP for the first time, got a chance to meet Cyndi Lauper and all that stuff. And I was just like, wow. I couldn't believe that me from the dirt roads of Little Rock, Arkansas, was now at this fancy event, and so he was like, you're gonna be playing here in 2 years. So pushing forward to the future, I sang there a year after. Wow. But so when he flew me out, he flew my friend out as well, because I didn't know this white man.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
And and so I'm a skeptic.
Right.
I know. Life
I
has
am.
taught you to be.
And so when I say I accidentally got married,
Right.
I mean, so he did something and snuck in, So
Might happen again.
so right, like how did this happen? Nobody's supposed to be here. How did you get here?
Oh.
Deborah Cox.
That's right. I love it.
So he flew my friend out as well, and we made Seen It All, which is my first EP. And everything else is history. It just blew
That is
up and
beautiful.
continued to blow up.
That is absolutely beautiful.
Can you imagine a total Cinderella story? So many people can be inspired and know I can be just like you. I can succeed as a
Absolutely.
transgender person.
It's very important that my trans community know, because we didn't have anybody we can look up to that was trans. Yeah, we had RuPaul, but when I realized that wasn't my experience, I kind of was like, dang, there's still no trans person who identifies like me that's out here.
How would you,
Killing it in this game.
in your own words, put the difference between Ru and you?
Well,
ROSEMARY?
I would say that trans is an experience, and most time drag is a job.
Okay.
And so what I mean by the experience is I don't take mine off.
Oh, I heard that.
I'm here 24/7,
I heard that.
and I will pay for whatever I need to pay for to be able to function the way I need to function.
Can I ask this? My best friend recently told me when we were in college, she said, I thought you were trans. And during the break, I was back there weeping before you came out. Because I draw inspiration from you. I saw you last night when I was watching your videos, and I was just so inspired. And it just hit me. I went back there, and I said, maybe I'm trans.
Yeah, because trans is inclusive. There's an umbrella. So you have gender nonconforming that falls under the trans narrative. You just don't completely identify with the cis normative. So you connect with both your feminine energy and your masculine energy. And so nobody's going to be able to dictate what you're going to wear. Your hair may be up, it may be down. You may have a sickening dress on. You may have a lip on and a mustache,
That's it.
and be all right with it. And so you're not trying to conform to what society says. On the other hand, I am very much trying to conform to what society says I'm supposed to be as a woman. So.
Excellent.
How would you, if there's someone questioning whether they are or not, how would you tell them or guide them into getting an understanding?
Well, I would say there is like a different label for each individual. And there is so much research, out there, so much information that will help a person or guide a person toward their own identity. Because a lot of times we get misled by people who say, okay, you're presenting as male, but doesn't mean that I actually identify as male. And so those are two different things.
Powerful, powerful.
And you never, was there a time when you presented male but still identified as transgender?
When I was a little tater-tot,
Okay.
And when I was 14, of course, before I ran away from home, it was just like, that was my breaking point. That was all I could give you. I gave society a good old college try.
Hello.
You said that this is 14 years?
Sound like, what was it, 200 years? I mean, whatever song that.
11 years of sacrifice. Mary, honey, And
Oh, y'all, now stop. Oh.
That's what it was, sacrificing your own happiness.
yeah, it is. And so we sacrifice that to make the people in our lives happy and comfortable. Because, the thing is when we step into a space, we always think about how to make people comfortable. But me, I feel like if people are too comfortable, then I'm doing something wrong. So if everybody is still going on by the same narrative, still doing the same things, and I don't fit into that group, I gotta shake things up. Honey, you gonna eat the rest of this?
I have a question for you. I hear the fight. Like you almost had the Seeley moment. I've been fighting all my life. But anyway.
All my life I had to fight. I had to fight my uncles.
But I see the transformation in the fight, and I'd like to hear a little bit about that, if possible. Like you used to fight to protect, and it sounds like you're fighting for something different today.
It definitely. So in our homes, we're taught to be rough, and so they think that again that your queerness means that you're soft. The women in my life, reminded the men that, hey, it's something broken with this one, that you need to correct it. So they thought just to roughen me up. So it didn't make me a guy. It didn't make me a male. What it did was make me a rough woman. So I was a little rough around the edges, with the crust and stuff. Sometimes you got to cut the crust off because I didn't set up in there too long. So, and so I had to cut off the crust, And so that's why I am as always like this, ever vigilant, knowing that no matter where I go, I always have to have my guard up. I can't come in, I can't be on a date and enjoy my date. I have to wonder who is trying to make the guy I'm with feel uncomfortable for being with me. I have to wonder if I'm going to be discriminated against because I'm trans in that space, if I'm going to get clocked. I can't just come in and enjoy myself in any given situation. So,
Here you can.
here,
Right,
in
yeah,
the house, and y'all feed a sister. You know what I mean?
And we're so glad you're enjoying that. And we're gonna get ready for dessert.
Oh,
so
yes.
But I think maybe we've got a performance.
Are you going to perform for us?
I do a little something,
Oh, please.
Okay.
It's always a catch. Folks invite you over their house.
But you know what? But you promised. You said it. You told me.
And so when you called me on the phone,
You know what? And you said.
you just
okay.
said, come on over and eat. Come over to my house.
Sean, can we get a to-go plate?
I don't like antiques, I want something new. The world don't like no freaks coming in their rooms. But this beggar's got a right to choose. I'm not a stranger, I'm just like you. I need love, I don't need money. After all these years, baby, I'm still running. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? I get looks that get so dirty after all these years. Baby, it's still hurting. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want my piece of the American pie. You got your slice, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie to break the chains of overbelief. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. I don't like antiques, I want something new. I got my dignity, gonna live my truth. Like the southern smile, I just can't lose. Let my light sweep across the room. You may laugh, but it's not funny. That's the thing that keeps me coming. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? All those looks that get so dirty lets me know that they're still learning. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want my piece of the American pie. You got your slice, where is mine? Lick my fingers on this thing called life. Just a piece of the American pie to break the chains of overbelief. I'm the flame that you can't unsee. Wait a minute, Aaron, they ain't ready. You think they got it the first time? I think I need a little help. Yes. Can I get a little help? Yeah. I said, can I get a little help? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna speed this up a little bit for the folks at home that still don't get it. Just want my piece. American pie. Just want my piece. American pie. Just want my piece. American pie. Oh, just peace. American pie. Just want my peace. American pie. Just want my peace. American pie. Oh.
American
You
Pie.
are
I
so
love that.
good.
Oh my goodness.
That was
yes,
Shea. That was
Feeling
beautiful.
it,
Just
feeling it.
absolutely
It is
beautiful.
I'm speechless.
Yes.
I would like to find out
Wow, look at here.
the words. Oh my goodness, what is...
Wow.
I like that. So you have a lemon cake here. It gets better and better the deeper you go. And you have a vegan cheesecake.
You say the deeper you go,
Baby.
this ain't going deep.
We like to hear that. I'm just saying.
I would like, if you will, because a lot of times when I hear a beautiful voice like yours, I stop listening to the words and I just feel, which is what happened here. So I would like you to kind of, if you can, just tell us the words to American Pie.
Well, I don't like antiques. I want something new. The world don't like no freaks coming in their rooms. But this beggar's got a right to choose. I'm not a stranger. I'm just like you. I need love. I don't need money. After all these years, baby, I'm still running. Who's gonna say my want is not a need? Just want a piece of the American pie. You got your slice? Where's mine? I want to lick my fingers on this thing called life. You know, so it's just, you know, it really speaks about, you know, wanting that American dream. You know, that American pie signifies the American dream. And so, like, while we all have a little pie and cake on our plate, there are some people who don't get a chance to experience that. You got people that are hungry, you know, and so we'll enjoy our pie in the faces of so many people who are hungry and not understand that there's so much room for everybody to be able to have that piece of American pie. And so that's what American pie is signifying. It's just that the world is different. And people like us, we're not invited at the table. We're not invited into your homes. We're not invited into your lives. We're not invited to be your friends, your lovers. And so with American pie is just saying, who's going to say my want is not a need? You know, I have so many things in life that I aspire to and that I would love to do, but the world tells you that you can't have access to that. And so they saying that, you know, for me to want to have that gender affirming surgery, that's not a need, that's a want. And for me, that's a need, an absolute need. And so, and who's going to say it's not a need? Who's going to tell me? Who got to walk in these shoes? Hold on, let me check again.
You know what I always say, though? Only a fool would think someone would want to go through the discrimination.
Yeah.
Who would want to, if you could not do anything except be who you are, who would want to go up against this obstacle and this obstacle? I would rather just fit in the box and be normal.
Yeah.
You know, like other people, you know, so.
When you realize
gotta respect
the recipe for that pie.
Not pie.
I hear you, baby.
Did you say pie?
The pie.
I hear you.
And so.
Yeah.
Please stop.
You said behave at your table. I'm going to behave at your table. I said I was going to be good. You invited me over here.
Child, I'm chewing and you talking about and I'm eating. And I'm just like, damn.
I feel it.
So the world tell you that you're supposed to enjoy it.
Okay.
You done served me a pie and now I'm supposed to enjoy it.
Shea, I was talking to your guitarist, Aaron, and he mentioned you have this philosophy called an invitation to greatness.
Yes. So the invitation to greatness is that we all talk about being great. Let's make America great again. But the invitation to greatness is you can't call people out. You got to call them in. So people stop listening to you when you start shouting and when you raise your voice to them. And so when you start talking at people instead of talking to people, you kind of lose them. So the invitation to greatness is you call people in, don't call them out.
All right.
Well, how do you think some of those mainstream media transgender faces have made a difference? You know, I mean, certainly with the success of Pose, and then you've got...
I was on Pose.
You were on Pose?
I was on Pose the first
really?
season. Go and check out the first season.
Okay. What episode was it?
It was one of the ballroom scenes, but I was through there a couple times, you know, with a couple, giving a couple of looks, you know.
Okay.
The incredible thing was they were asking me to come back, but I just got signed, so I moved from New York, and moved to LA, and so I couldn't do it. But I was so disappointed because I really loved being on set, and by this time they had already knew me. They knew how to do my hair. They knew what clothes to put on me. They was like, "Who's that girl? Where that one girl at?" So when I didn't show up on set, they was like, "Where that one girl at?" So I was that one girl for a long time, and so
Thought it would have blown up.
I knew it was gonna blow up. Every time I'm on set, I have a feeling when it's gonna be good. I have a feeling when it's gonna be good. And so if it wasn't, I would have walked out of set because them some long hours. I'd be like, you know what, this ain't gonna work. They said, well, Shea, you know, you have to stay here to the end. Ooh! Ooh! But I had an amazing time on Pose. Pose is absolutely incredible. A brilliant cast, a brilliant creative team. And so just to be a part of that and doing what we do best,
Right.
Like, you know, nobody could do a club scene like us. So I went from being an extra to getting, you know, Ryan Murphy said, okay, let's bring out that boom mic. Can you say that again? So it was.
That's how you cut in, baby.
I cut in like that, you know. Come on, if we
stand
gonna
out.
club, we gonna have the club
Baby.
up in here. We can't be pretending to club. We got a club, you know. And so, so it's always really fun for me to just be these huge background personalities. Like I feel like, you know, the front runners are the front runners. You let them, you know, let them be the front runners. Let them, you know, support them.
Well, guess
Find
what?
out how you can support
You are a front runner in this house, Miss Shea Diamond.
my goodness, whatever would have
you
you
will
and
never be
whatnot.
referred to as "Where's that girl?" You will always be our girl, and we love you. Thank you so much
Now
for
y'all
coming
gonna
to
make
the
me
house.
cry.
Oh.
And you are always welcome in the house.
That's because once you come to the house, what? You're always family.
Yes. So welcome to our family.
Well, next time, don't y'all make me wait so long at the door. Honey, I said out there, it was cold out there, hell. That's your key.